All right. So at 7 o'clock, we're going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I would ask if there are any additions to the agenda this evening. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, so moved by Councillor McDougall, seconded by Deputy Mayor McIver. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. The agenda is approved. We do have a presenter for this evening. So it's Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health. Gina McDonald is with us. So on behalf of council, we'd like to welcome you here this evening and look forward to your presentation.
Everybody, I'm going to try and expedite the presentation since you are all aware of the work that's being done anyway. So Cape Breton South had a pretty good year in 2023. We had a lot of funding from the government of Nova Scotia through their Office of Healthcare Professionals Recruitment Community Fund, and we used every single dollar. So this is kind of just a review of some of the events that we did. The Community of Care Awards, which was a big hit last year. We're having it again here at the Civic Centre on the 3rd of April, where we're going to be giving out another 11 awards to various healthcare professionals in the area. The winners have not been announced yet, but they will be tomorrow on Facebook. So we have a lot of representation from various facilities around Port Hawkesbury and Michigan. So we're hoping that that event goes well again this year. We did a lot of celebrating professional days of recognition, which on its face probably seems like a bit of a, throwaway activity, but it was quite the opposite, because with the big exodus of healthcare workers that we had a few years ago, it has become painstakingly clear to all of us that a lot of people who work here, the reason that they were leaving is because they didn't feel like their work was valued. They didn't feel like they were being recognized for the work that they did. And a bouquet of flowers for somebody who's never been recognized in the profession goes a lot longer way than even a big bonus. And so the people that were working here really valued the acknowledgements that we gave them. So we have every intention of doing the same thing this year. We did it for every healthcare profession that we could afford to do it for. We did it at every facility, and we made sure that nobody was missed, from paramedics, doctors, nurses, DON, CCAs of nursing homes. We did the entire swath of healthcare workers. Same thing with Doctors' Day. We did all of the doctors. We brought them cards from the elementary school students. We had from Tech, from Felix Marchand, and they had little messages in them, and the doctors thought that they were just hilarious, which they were. We did have some appreciation barbecues at the local nursing home and at the Straight Richmond Hospital. We will not be doing those this year because we didn't feel like there was a lot of value in them, just because everybody's working. Nobody's really socializing during the hour that they have for lunch. So it's a trial and error thing. We have this kind of funding. We tried it. It didn't work, so we're not going to put money into it again this year. Business of Medicine Retreat was fantastic. We did 8 medical residents, even though we were only supposed to do 6. We took funding from other parts of that program to make sure that we were able to accommodate 2 more. Nova Scotia Health is in talks with several of those residents right now to determine where in the area they might want to and be willing to work. So the physician's welcome reception the Friday before the Business of Medicine course is a very successful event, and it gives all of the doctors in the area an opportunity to socialize with each other outside of the clinical setting, which is extremely important. And Dr. Kuda asks me every time he sees me if I'm going to be having another one. So if Dr. Kuda is looking to socialize, I think that's a pretty good sign that it's a good event. And again, we took them down trails. We had a lovely little meal at Fleur de Lis. We took them to Straight Richmond. They met all of the doctors who were extremely cooperative and met us all at Straight Richmond so that they could have a look around, and it was a very, very successful weekend. The promotional videos, I'm assuming everybody's probably seen. They were a big investment, but they are one that will outlive me, because we made sure that it was not specific to any individuals or any people who are working in the area, with the exception of Dr. Hansball, who I'm assuming will probably outlive us all. So these are some of the places that I went that I may or may not be going to again. I am luckily for everyone very cheap, and an event has to be filled with value in order for me to be willing to spend money on it. The Society of Rural Physicians of Canada has a rural and remote conference every year. I was advised that I should go based on prior events. Having been to this one, it was great, but I did not see a lot of value in it. It was set up in a way that it didn't give us dedicated access to the residents and physicians that were there. It gave us kind of occasional, if they stopped in on their lunch break, access. So you were basically chasing people down to talk to them in order to be able to make sure that you were doing what you went there to do. So it was a lot easier for me to do it than it was for others, because everybody who sees a Cape Breton flag, they beeline directly for it. It doesn't matter where I am, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. Cape Breton people have an automatic connection that makes me a lot luckier than some of the other people around Nova Scotia. But in any event, I went, I saw what it was all about. They have another one in Edmonton this year, and Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health will not be represented at that one, nor will, I think, 6 out of the 10 navigators who went to that one are also not going to this next one. It's just one of those things where the value isn't there compared to the cost of the event. So another, let's see what's happening. There we go. Cape Breton University Job Fair there were a lot of very, very eager men and women, a lot more of them more educated than me. Unfortunately, there were no licensed professionals and nobody really eligible for licensing, which we did not know in advance. And we suspect that it's probably going to be the same thing every year, because they take them out of that, I believe it's healthcare services or something, one of the degrees from CBU, that so many of these poor people are under the impression that once they graduate from that course, that they're going to be able to use their qualifications that they have in other disciplines, when that really is not the case. So I think a lot of them were disappointed that I didn't have jobs to give them, but of course, like every other profession, you need to be licensed in order for me to take your resume and give it to Nova Scotia Health for you to be a CCA. You have to be an actual CCA. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor in India, if you're not a CCA in Nova Scotia, then you're not doing the job in Nova Scotia Health. So I'm hoping that they're able to communicate that to the students going forward, so that they know that the people who are there are looking for people who have the qualifications to be hired. I did do a talk with the Cape Breton Language Center and the Chinese Student Scholars Association. Some of those people did have some interesting qualifications, which were passed on to Nova Scotia Health. The Office of Healthcare Professionals Recruitment Conference was extremely, extremely valuable. I was asked to be part of a panel discussion about welcoming communities, and we spoke to the health minister and to the entire crowd about the difference between being friendly and being genuinely welcoming, and making sure that all of the healthcare professionals were being well integrated into the community and not just thrown a party and left to figure out things on their own. So they will have another one in the end of April, but I do plan to attend in Truro. I suspect it'll be largely the same thing. We had a lot of representation from Nova Scotia Health Recruitment, from immigration, from long-term care. All of the players were there, and they were all very welcoming of the community navigators, hoping to give us a seat at the table where we're able to contribute to the whole process. The Dalhousie Family Medicine Retreat is probably the most important event that I attend. You have about 300 family medical residents who are all just walking around, and they're giving dedicated time to go to each booth to figure out what that particular place has that another one might not. Again, the Cape Breton name on all of our signage, it's incredible the beeline that people make to us. When they see us, they almost breathe past all of the other people so that they can get to Cape Breton, because every single person has a story to tell you about their aunt from Cape Breton, or their uncle whose cucumbers are, beautiful, or they went around the Cabot Trail when they were a kid. So there's lots of different stories, and it's definitely advantageous to us. So I will continue to go to this event as long as I have it. A lot of the people who came to our business and medicine course, I met at the Dalhousie Family Medicine retreat the year before. And of course, the big news last year, which I think made everybody happy, were the two new physicians, Dr. Nenge and Dr. Wegley. They have both been very, very happy with the move here. They are both, their kids are in school, their wives are happy, they're looking for work if they haven't found job offers already. The two doctors think it's fantastic, they have houses, they feel like they're part of the community, and I'm very, very happy with both of their transitions into Fort Hawkesbury. So that's basically a roundup of 2023. And I'll tell you what is going on in 2024. So 2023, we had funding from the Office of Healthcare Professionals Recruitment in the amount of about $74,000. The Office of Healthcare Professionals Recruitment made a subcommittee for the internationally educated nursing program that's underway. We have about 5,000 internationally educated nurses who are going to be coming to Nova Scotia within the next 5 years. So they developed kind of like a subcommittee working group to determine how best to settle those individuals coming from outside of Canada. During those conversations, it was determined that we were going to need money to do that, and no money had been allocated for that project. They were just kind of handing it to the communities and saying, here you go, you're so lucky you get to participate in the settlement project, but really, we didn't have any money to accommodate a lot of the, really complex components that go into settling somebody here. Who's going to, sign up to get their power connected? Who's going to help them with furniture? Who's going to do A, B, C, D, and E? So instead of allocating new money to that project, they decided to take money from the community fund, which is what we were using as our project money to do different recruitment and retention activities. So they decided that their focus was going to be on the internationally educated healthcare professionals and to not put in the same kind of application we had the year before for our funding because it just would not get approved. So we were told to pick the best one or two projects that we had and to cross our fingers that there would be enough to go around. I didn't do that, and I applied for everything anyway, because the worst thing they could say is no, and they gave me every single dollar that I asked for. So I feel very fortunate to be able to go ahead with the plans that I had. We will be doing all of the work for the internationally educated healthcare professionals, but it's not going to interfere with the work that we do with the recruitment and retention. And for that, I feel extremely grateful. So aside from the projects that I told you about, the Strait Area Healthcare Steering Committee is something that we've been working on a lot this year. We've partnered with Nova Scotia Health to really dig into what this area needs in terms of healthcare services. Barring the influx of 50 doctors, which we all know is not going to happen, people around here still have to figure out how to gain access to the healthcare that they need. So we've been working with Nova Scotia Health to figure out ways to make sure that, barring this influx of doctors, that we're still able to get the people the healthcare that they need. So to that end, we have been working on little kind of low-hanging fruit achievable projects. I didn't want to burn down any more forests, aside from the logic model that I already passed out. So I just printed off two of these, one for each side of the table that you can pass down and have a look. This is something that they developed, Nova Scotia Health developed with Inverness, that kind of just tells people, if you have this, this is where you go. If you have something beyond this, then you go here instead. We're making it our own and flipping it upside down. Instead of telling people, if you're having a heart attack, go this direction. If you're not having a heart attack, go here. We're telling people instead, if you have this, this, and this, if you need to get your INR done, if you have the UTI, first go to the pharmacy. If you have this, and this that can't be treated by the pharmacy, then you go to your family doctor. If you have this, and this, then you go to the emergency department. So kind of instead of showing them things that they already know already, we're going to give them a pyramid of ways that they can climb the healthcare system so that they're able to use the resources that we have so that they don't end up using resources that they don't need. So that should be probably distributed to the public within the next few weeks. Nova Scotia Health is a giant machine. I could probably churn out something like that in 20 minutes, but I have several communications departments to get through now, so we're kind of at the mercy of waiting for the communications department to catch up. Another issue that we had identified was we were not getting the information about my existence and the existence of the other community navigators to the doctors that were coming into Nova Scotia. The doctors do not care who you work for. They're going to contact a person who they can identify, and they're going to contact a person who does things for them. If that's Nova Scotia Health, it's Nova Scotia Health, it's me, they don't care. But if they don't know about me, then they don't know to call me. And so that's something that now Doctors of Nova Scotia, in their welcoming orientation sessions for all the new physicians, is giving to all of the new doctors in Nova Scotia, so that if there's somebody who is looking to come to work in this area, they probably won't even hear the words Cape Breton South coming from Nova Scotia Health Recruitment. So this way, it kind of bypasses that and gives them my contact information, what I can do for them, and when it's appropriate for them to call me. Something else that we are doing is a public education campaign, similar to that sheet that I passed out that they have in Inverness. This is to let people know where they can access services that they might not otherwise be aware of. It's kind of a three-part project. So it is the social worker card that you see in the front is literature that we have at the doctor's offices that let people know what services that they have that they might not know of. So just to use that one as an example, we made some up for Dr. Pluta. When people go in to see Dr. Pluta, he can say, well, you know, yes, I can help you with this, but from now on, if you need help with this, this is Holly, she's a social worker, she can help you with that. And so it really kind of gives people access to those resources, and it must be working because they've all asked us for more cards. So we do have a lot more professions and a lot more resources to print off, things like pharmacies, social workers, dietitians, diabetes education center, things like that that are kind of underutilized resources at this point that would prevent a lot of people from having to make appointments at their doctor's offices. One of the other sheets that you see there is a booklet that we're making for students in high schools, and we plan to launch that in September. It's to let high school students know what programs are available. It spells out in very, very clear language that can be digested by a 16-year-old with no attention span, to let them know this is what a lab tech is, this is what a lab tech does, this is the kind of work we'll be doing, these are the courses that you need to take in college, and these are the prerequisites that you need in high school in order to be able to qualify for it. Because a lot of kids do not know that these professions exist. They know that there's doctors, they know that there's nurses, but they don't know about things like, you know, lab techs, x-ray techs, dietitians, things like that. So we wanted to put something together for the guidance counselors, because the people most likely to stay in the communities when they get a job are the people who are from here. So we need to start making sure that all these kids who are graduating from high school, who don't know what they want to do, that we're giving them a resource that shows them what they might want to do. And the last thing is this item here, which is a social media consultation that we had done with a media company the end of November. They formulated a new social media strategy for us using resources we already had and using some new ones that would better enable us to get our name around and to be able to increase exposure for the area online. They were very impressed with what they saw. They did give me some statistics, and it shows that there's an increase in every single one of the parameters, which was very encouraging. And so we're going to use the new plan that they've established to continue to grow our social media and our audience going forward. So I think that's pretty much all that I have, and I'm starting to lose my voice anyway, so I'll leave it open for anybody who has questions.
First and foremost, thanks so much, Gina, for coming and giving us an update on all the programs and activities that are on the go for Cape Breton South. I would ask if council has any questions.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. I don't have any questions, Gina, but I want to take the opportunity to thank you and the committee for the great work. and how the committee has, I guess, come forward, I guess, and grew to what it is today. I can remember the first meeting in Straight Richmond to start this, and with the town and Richmond as partners, I think it's really working well.
And
So,
I will say to that, we are in a lot of ways the envy of the entire province, because they do hold Cape Breton South Recruitment for Health up on a pedestal as a model of how it should work, with municipal support doing the actual, the administrative side of it, and then applying for the provincial funding to do the project work, because there are many, many, many municipalities in the province who are crying to have somebody in the community to do this kind of work, and the province won't fund it. So, so everybody's very impressed with all of the different kind of configurations across Nova Scotia that lend themselves to the exact same work.
thank you.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Gina, and I'd like to echo the Deputy Mayor's statements that it's been money well worth spent on behalf of the town council for the Cape Breton South Recruiting. I just have one question, Gina, for you. If you can answer it, fine. If you can't, it's fine also. I noticed you had the two doctors up there that came in recently. There's Dr. Shareska is also in town here. He bought a house on
Yeah.
Iron Street. I'm just wondering,
He was in last year's presentation,
Okay.
because technically he came in 2022.
okay.
I didn't forget about him, believe me. They've made quite a little,
No, he really appreciates the town and he's nice.
he loves his neighbors. Like, his neighbors really helped him buy the house. He had been looking really hard for a house everywhere and wasn't finding anything that he liked.
Yeah.
And he kind of made friends with one of the nurses from ER, who helped him find a house nearby hers, and they have barbecues.
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
Yeah,
He's getting along great.
yeah, he seems to be doing really
Yeah,
well.
that's good.
Interesting. Councilor.
Absolutely, your worship. And anyhow, Gina, what can a person say? I mean, the amount of work, we acknowledge the committee, certainly, but you in particular, you're leading the charge, and you're getting a lot, you're getting all this stuff done. And I can certainly understand and appreciate why Cape Breton South Recruitment for Health and in your position is kind of the envious of many other areas in the province. So anyhow, just with that very quick, well, not quick, but that very inclusive overview that you gave us, it just, I know your days and your weeks are not short. So carry on.
Thank you.
Councilor Colle.
Through your worship. I'll echo the other three councillors and the mayor, the other two councillors, deputy mayor and mayor. Great presentation, great work. The only question I have for you, Gene, is where do you find the time?
I'm exhausted, but to be fair, because we didn't get as much funding this year, last year I really kind of threw everything at the wall to see what would stick, and everything stuck, which meant that I had such a full schedule that I was beat. So this year, the schedule isn't as full, but luckily I've left myself time this year to fill out all of the endless, mountainous documentation that the government requires in order to get funding. And so I'm gonna take it a little bit easier this year in terms of being in 6 places at once.
So I do have one other comment, and I commend you on getting back to people in a very quick manner. Every time somebody has called me or reached out to you, within 24 hours, you're in contact with them and the ball gets rolling. And I think that's extremely important. And I think you deserve the recognition for that. So great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. And I just have maybe a random question that you may or may not have information for. With regard to the announcement for the public housing, I read that some of those units could be set aside for medical locums or any, kind of anything with in the medical health field. Just wondering if there's anything that you know on the topic.
I do, to this extent. I know that there are 2 of the mobile homes down there are being set aside for healthcare workers. Whether that is going to be healthcare workers at large, maybe nursing homes bringing in workers or straight from hospital. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but I know that as of yesterday, Angela, the site manager of the Strait, was also waiting for the final information about exactly what kind of access she was gonna have to those housing options, because a few others have come across our plate that we don't want to refuse until we know that we have access to those ones. So we're hoping that within the next week, we'll have some more information, that we know how those wheels to tend to turn.
Sometimes very slowly, for sure. No, I appreciate that, because I guess there's not a whole lot of information percolating around about it, so.
I mean, we're hoping, so that's the reason that they were brought in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're gonna have some access, it's just a matter of finding out what the details are.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely, if you hear any information, feel free to share.
Yeah.
So I'm in the know. I get lots of questions.
Me too.
Okay, great.
All right.
Any other questions from council? Everybody's good? Okay, other than thanking you again, we really appreciate your time this evening.
And anybody else thinks of anything that they want to know or details that they need?
Just this information that you passed out, Gene, is the public going, have you say the public would receive that?
The public is going to receive that from Nova Scotia Health. It's going to be made available on paper form and online. The distribution channels haven't been worked out yet, but if I have my way, they'll be thrown from the top of the water tower and everybody will have a copy.
Oh, that's great. No, thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody. I'm losing my voice.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Gina. All right. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, which is council reports on assigned committees. And I'll start with Council McCord.
Thank you, Your Worship. One committee that I did attend was the Development Committee on March 12th. We had a number of presentations. We had John Bain, the Executive Director, Eastern District Planning, present on the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. We had a presentation from Parker Horton, who's the Economic Development Officer for Victoria County. He presented a summary of a conference that he had attended in Whistler, BC. This is the International Council of Shopping Centers, the 2024 conference. We had an update from Martin Thompson, our Economic Development Officer, regarding the status of the Cape Breton-Unama'ki development strategy, and provided an update on the retail market study. And finally, we had the gentleman, Fred Cormier, who's a property manager with Town Center, just provide an update on what's going on at the Town Center currently.
Does that conclude your report?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. I also sat in on that meeting. Councillor Corey, who chairs it, and we also had, that was on the 12th, also waterfront development committee meeting on the 18th, last night.
Thank
It
you.
was my report.
Perfect. We'll go over to Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. As Councillor McDougall had stated, we had a waterfront meeting on the 18th. And we have a number of meetings coming up for April. So.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing some updates on that. Councilor Point.
The only meeting I had last month was the Cape Breton one.
Thank you. And I circulated for council last night my committee reports. If anybody has any questions at any time, just reach out. We move on to agenda item 6. Unless Deputy Mayor has a question.
I'm good.
That's good. So I'll hand things over to Terry, our CAO, your reports.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our senior team will take us through the reports, starting with finance.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Just a couple of quick updates. I did update council on the budget process, so still waiting for capital information to be provided through staff so that we can provide you with kind of an up-to-date listing of all of the wishes between councils and staff and needs within the departments. So hoping to have that information out to the council by the end of the week and hoping to schedule something for next week for an upcoming meeting. In the meantime, I've been starting to prepare the operating plan as well. So, yeah, so that's where we're at on that. The annual audit, again, fieldwork was completed in November. We did receive our report from Ames on our asset retirement obligations. They have been provided to the auditor, and we're just incorporating the results of those reports into the financial statements. So hopefully an audit committee meeting will be scheduled once I get the final approval from Grant Thornton on after review of those reports. And just an item to know, we did have a tax sale on March 12th. It's been quite some time since we've had one in town for Hawkesbury. Tiffany Savory, our employee who we have in finance, I'm sure you've met, did a great job in getting prepared for that. We only had 2 properties included in that auction, and one was sold and the other remains on our tax sale list as there was no bidders on one of the properties. So overall, it was good to go through that process because it's been quite some time since we've done that, and they'll continue to happen as required moving forward. So that's all I have for finance that it's notable. Any questions?
Any questions for Larry? Thanks, Sarah.
Over to Gordy.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Through you, your worship, a brief report. Start with the Civic Center. We had some air quality testing carried out throughout the building in different spaces. The gym space, spare bedroom, Shin studio, and the main concourse. Most results came back very favorable. We had some minor deficiencies in relative humidity that we can work on correcting, but nothing too drastic. We hosted some components of the annual March Break PHP tournament in the Veterans Memorial Arena, and we will host some of the Freddie McNeil tournament next Friday, which is an annual tournament held in Richmond, but they branched out for some extra ice at this site. So with that, the winter arena schedule is coming to a close. So next Saturday, it should say the 30th, my mistake. March 30th is our last day for ice rentals for this year. A little bit earlier than normal, but there's not a lot of uptake. So, parks and areas around town, we had some pretty substantial snow damage to our fence which runs along the railway and waterfront. So I met with the rail owners, and they're very receptive, and they've agreed to fix the fence. So they started that late last week, and it'll probably take them a couple of weeks to get it all done, but they're at it. I'll monitor that and have an update in the next meeting. The fields continue to be closed, playground and stuff, for another couple of months. Food bank, Stantec has completed the CHK 700 report, site condition report, which was filed with the Department of Environment. That's getting us pretty much to the last step of that geo work that's being done there the last couple of years. That will determine what it will take to close out that file, which began back in early 2000s when we had the oil contamination into the soil there. So that file is just coming to closure in the next few months. Hopefully sometime this summer we'll be able to close that out forever. And I'll keep council and your worship up to date on that. Airport, the hangar's coming along to completion, and we're waiting on the automatic gate. The contractor is on site today to do a quick little scope of the site, and there's no problem to expect that work to be done by the end of the month. Accessibility, we met on March 4th. We took some time to look at what the other municipalities in the province have for accessibility websites. We've been concentrating on our social sites and promoting what we do and what we'd like to see done in our town through social media. So we reviewed some municipal sites, Antigonish Town, Kentville, Inverness, Yarmouth, Wolfville. We found a lot of stuff we liked and some stuff we didn't like, and we'll continue to move forward on developing a new web page just for accessibility within the town. And our next accessibility meeting is scheduled for next month, I think the second Monday of next month. So that's my brief report for this month, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Gordy at this time? Thanks for your report.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe that Michelle is able to join us this evening. And so we can, Karine, I don't know if are you reporting on that? Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Thanks, Karine.
Thanks. Through you, your worship, I'm just gonna give a brief update on the recreation department. So on February 25th, we had a very successful s'mores night trail hike again. We had over 100 people in attendance. It was a chilly evening, but it was beautiful, and we had a lot of people and a lot of really good comments. So a huge thanks to the Trail Association for their assistance and for clearing the trail for us to be able to have that fun event again. Due to some weather, we've had to reschedule some swimming lessons to the end of this session, so that will have our lessons start. Our spring lessons will start about a week later than normal, but everything else should be on track. Our drop-in adult programs at the Sarah Gym, basketball, pickleball, soccer, have been very well attended, and we'll continue running those programs into the spring. We've reintroduced the multi-sport program this winter, and that will also continue into the spring, and that's a program for ages 4 to 6. This year we did it with just, we did 4 sports, so we did skating, basketball, soccer, and baseball. Some in partnership with our minor sporting organizations, so that's been extremely helpful. We're also just coming off a really busy week of March break, with pretty much all full programs and events. We had some day camps, craft and dance programs, our inflatable obstacle course at the pool, open gym times, and some free swims and free skates. So everything was very well attended, and people seem to have a lot of fun with that. We're wrapping up our winter programming. Some of our Learn to Skate, Learn to Play hockey programs, and basketball and music programs are wrapping up. And our spring flyer should be released within the next couple of weeks, with programming for in the spring starting around the end of April. There's also some events going on. So we have the Cabin Fever series has had 3 successful concerts. We just had the Privateers in High Society last weekend, which was a really successful event as well. And then April 7th, we have Island Girls coming. April 13th, we have Baldy. April 26th, the Fabulously Rich. May 9th, the Relatives, which is a fundraiser for the All Wheels Park. May 17th, Carlton Stone. And May 21st, the Canada Circus Spectacular. And May 26th, the Small of My Heart Songwriters, hosted by Lisa McIsaac from Madison Violet. And as far as bookings, the NSCC convocation is June 6th. And for 2024, we have 6 weddings booked so far. And the Celtic Colors opening is October the 11th, 2024. And the Granville Green will be beginning on July 7th and will run until August 11th. Website and branding is being built, as well as communications planning, and the confirmed sponsors are East Coast Credit Union, A1 Pizza, Everwind, Atlantic Lotto, Port Hawkesbury Paper, and Everwind. That's everything I have.
Thanks, Karine. Any questions? Appreciate the report, thank you.
Thanks, Karine. Jason.
Thank you, through your worship. Brief update from Engineering Public Works. Our Public Works building project is moving forward quite nicely, actually. Recent. We had a project kickoff meeting with our building supplier and architect, and that was on March 8th. So at that time, we were presented with an issue for a review set of drawings for the building as well. There's still a lot of detail to go into that set, but quite happy to get to that point. So there's a lot of sub-consultants working on this file right now as well. So there's a ton of work happening behind the scenes. So Amy Troy is working on mechanical, electrical, and Dylan is doing structural and civil designs, and we had Stantec in just last week to perform a geotechnical investigation of the existing site. So there was a host of test pits dug. Results were very favorable for the most part. We hope to have that geotech report back quite soon, hopefully to be able to proceed with some structural detail that they're going to need. For Public Works, just a couple of quick notes. Staff recently repaired a water main break on Harm Street. That was the 16th water main repair of the 2023-24 season, which seems like a big number, but actually it's probably very consistent over the years with what we've seen. And we've been spending a significant effort lately trying to get ahead of a lot of the potholes on town streets in recent weeks with cold mix asphalt. So typically asphalt plants in this area are not open for the purchase of hot mix until early June. So that's the product that we have at our disposal until then. And if there's other options available to us, we'll certainly explore that as we kind of switch from winter maintenance mode to maintenance mode. Just a bit of an update on procurements. We have a tender out right now for water system upgrade project. So that's the accessory buildings to the Fifth Street tank, the Collins Street PRV, and Queen Street meter. That project was re-tendered this year due to high costs received last year in the bids. So we were able to change scope a little bit and re-tender that. So that closes on the 28th. Water treatment plant roof replacement project, that was awarded to PMC Roofing, and we received 2 bids for that work. And that we're expecting progress to start early spring. So early spring, my wife told me it was only 2 days away from today, so probably more than 2 days away, but hopefully not too far off. We have a tender out right now for the Eastern Town Active Transportation Project, so that's a AT trail section along Queen Street and Queen Street Extension into the Cardinal Estates Mobile Home Park. That includes 3-meter wide paved AT trail curb, stormwater management, landscaping, and brand new RA5 crosswalk with accessible features and pedestrian refuge areas, and just to kind of modernize that whole area. So that would be an excellent upgrade in that area. So, and we also have an RFP out for engineering services for accessibility and sidewalk design. And we're closing that early April. A brief update on ICIP, Active Transportation Projects. That was a request of council a couple weeks back. So just wanted to give a bit of a background before I dive into various project areas. Since 2021, in cooperation with our engineering consultants, town staff have been working on a multi-year phased project to build extensions to our AT network and make more connections throughout the community. The total cost for the project was $2.2 million, and the town estimated contribution at 27% funding was just under $600,000. So the ICIP funding levels is 40% federal, 33% provincial, and 27% municipal. So a map of the various project areas that we had put into our planning at the onset of the project. Just to give you a bit of a rundown on where we're at with each area. Tamarack City Road connection. This was the first project area that we tendered. Pricing came in quite high. With only one bid, we were not able to award at that time. Since then, there's been interest for a commercial development in that along that property. that we would have to cross. And we don't want to put the investment right now into the AT trail without knowing if we have to tear that up and build it a different way within a year or two. That's where we're at. The Macquarie Drive connection was completed in 2022. That was extremely successful project. Waterfront connection, the boardwalk replacement section was completed in 22/23. WSP, our engineering and design consultant, are currently working on design for AT trail along the Sunset Park area and sections of Granville. And an additional section along the waterfront area where we stopped the boardwalk replacement through the Philpott Street. We've recently had very good meetings with engineers and managers from Nova Scotia Public Works, and one of the topics of discussion was our AT project, and we had some really good discussions on that. There's more to follow. I think they had some takeaways that they wanted to investigate, and we hope to have follow-up discussions with them probably within the coming weeks. But there's some things to figure out with how we cross Ruby Street on the Granville Street end of Canada. Eastern Town Connection, like I say, that tender is out right now. And that would be, it doesn't show exactly how it's designed on the map that's on the screen, but there's the section of AT Trail on Queen Street, and then you're crossing Highway 104, and that's the section of AT Trail on Queen Street Extension getting into the Cardinal Estates, and the upgrades to the crosswalk. Reeve Street connection portion. Obviously, this project area is dependent on the outcome of the Reeve Street pilot for the province. This was a topic of discussion in our meetings with the provincial engineers recently as well. And the work for us to finish off this section with our AT trail, it would be a cross-sectional change along that 600-meter section of Reeve Street between the Pitt Street intersection, essentially, and City Road. It was very well received in discussion with the provincial engineers, and I think they have some takeaways to go back and look at. Obviously, the Reeve Street pilot study and potential funding options and design options that they would be able to look at. Yeah, so that provides an update on our current ICIP project. Just lastly, one quick note: the Town Occupational Health and Safety Committee hosted a lunch and learn for town staff on February 23rd, and that was facilitated by members of the Production Volunteer Fire Department. So organized mainly by our town employee Robert Cass, and the training was put on by Tara Zellers, so the Production Volunteer Fire Department. So that was very good training. It was hands-on training on AED use, and there was a pretty good turnout from staff, and it was very well received. So just want to send a big thank you to those folks. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason at this time? We appreciate your presentation.
Yes, Jim.
That concludes
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to agenda item 7, which is other business. Our first item is employee memorial.
Yes, Your Worship. So if you remember, actually, a few years ago, we discussed honoring some of our employees who have passed away. There was work done by Paula Davis on this. It was brought forward after the passing of a couple of employees recent or within the last few years. Melissa has picked this up, the file up, and is putting some concepts together, and we're taking this to council tonight to start talking about how do we define this. So we have a few questions. So we worked a little bit, just sort of we have some kind of a concept of how this could look artistically. Melissa has done a summary here too of what we've done on the file. So if you looking at the slide, there was a few options that were sent by Vibe Consulting, sort of on the artwork on that, and they were very, very kind of traditional, like the tree and things that we've seen in a number of areas. This is the last proposal that they've come forward with. So what's happened, what this looks like is this becomes like a 3D art. So the longer waves are printed vinyl. The smaller waves are raised acrylic, so they'll stand out from the art piece, and that's where you would put the name and the particulars off the employee or counselor who has passed away. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at feedback on that concept. It does meet with our pardon me?
Brand.
Thank you. Brand.
It's a hard word.
It is.
Your knees
Sometimes.
sore? Your knees?
When you use that word.
When you don't, yeah, it's my knee. When you don't use it a lot. So anyway, matches up with the branding. But it is a little bit different. It's not something that you're going to see, I think, in a lot of areas. And that's what we're taking, just to get some feedback on that concept. We're just saying, looking at it recently too, under remembering, there'd be some verse or explanation of what the criteria is for the names and so forth. So just looking for feedback on that, and then some specific questions on sort of criteria and how we want to honor former employees of council.
Just quickly, Terry, is this something that we would have here in the Civic Center?
Yes, so it would be in the Civic Center. Council will decide where you want to place it within the building.
All right, maybe we'll start with Councillor Coyle.
Well, I like the idea. It's definitely different. We all agree that we need to do something. And this is definitely unique. I'm not opposed to the idea, that's for sure.
Okay. Deputy Mayor McIver.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I agree with it. I think it'd be good to honor the past employees that worked so hard to bring our town forward. So I think it's a good idea.
For you, Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also agree, we have something similar to this at the Union Hall with employees. Just a question, I guess, how far back would we go?
So that's one of the questions I have for council. So this could be very large, or it could be smaller in nature, so that you're raising the vision to a smaller number of people. And so what we're looking at was honoring those employees and counselors who have passed away while serving. And we were looking at a 20-year period. The 20-year period was mostly because that's what we know we can capture accurately. So kind of one of the worst things we could do is miss someone. So we thought we'd start with we'd start by going back 20 years from now, from employees and counselors who have passed away while serving.
Thank you.
You're good?
Good, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Cory.
Your worship, Kerry, there's another slide that you had there with some kind of factual information on it.
Yeah, so, and thanks again, Melissa, for this. So, yeah, January 5th, 2021, we had a public meeting council. Council passed a motion for town staff to create parameters to develop an employee memorial plaque and bring forward to council February committee of whole. February we met and reviewed 2 lists that were compiled dating back to the year 2000. First list was past employees who worked with the town at the time of death. Second list was employees who were not employed with the town at the time of death. The consensus council was used the time span of 20 years and mount the plaque in the Civic Center. Staff contacted Maple Signs and Engraving for modern style plaque. There wasn't really a good model around that. We thought this was really quite important, so we asked for some professional artwork and contacted Vibe to give us a hand on some concepts for this.
Great. And through you, your worship, to Terry, do we have the count of how many employees we'd be looking at?
Yeah, so at this time, when from our records, we have six persons who had passed away while serving the town from over the last 20 years.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? So I guess as this idea continues to, let's get some more meat on the bones, we can keep it on our committee of the whole and continue to discuss it as it progresses. And thank you, Melissa, for spearheading that.
So maybe I'd like to just get consensus that we're looking at just to reconfirm, it's a 20-year period and that we're looking at persons who had passed away while they were working, both counselors or employees.
The council consent with that idea?
Your worship, so I'm gonna get this straight, we're just gonna have the one plaque. So see up here, we have a second list of employees who are not employed with the town, now that they're dead. So is that implying that you're gonna have 2 different?
No, so I think we looked at options. What would it look like if we included others? And so the recommendation, and that's what you were showing lists at the first time, and then what we're suggesting, we're asking for the ability for move forward on the first list, and that's the list of employees who have passed away while they were and counselors who are in active service.
Any objections to continuing along those lines? Jason, you're good?
I think it's a good way to start it.
Okay, thank you.
So your worship, this vision has been provided, this plan here, is the intention to do this with, okay, you have the waves, but then you're going to have those acrylic pieces. So there'd be room left on this plaque or artistic work to add names going forward.
That's the whole idea.
Right, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we'll have staff continue to move the file forward, and if there are any updates or any other direction required from council, we'll include that in future committee of the rules, and if we do need to come to any kind of decision, we will bring it to a public meeting. Okay. Terry, is there anything else on that?
No, thank you. Thank you, council, for your feedback.
We're going to move on to straight area pool.
We can ask Corinne to come and present. So you asked us staff to go back and do some work and look at some options around fees. And Corinne and Aaron have been working their way through that. And so Corinne's going to kind of start us off with what we found, and Aaron will jump in as required as well. Corinne, you have the clicker? Yeah, okay.
No, okay. So I think, yeah, I can go through the first because the financial piece is first, and then Corinne will pick up on the considerations and around increasing prices. So just to start this off, at the March 5th public meeting, there was a motion requesting some information on impacts of increasing swim rates for non-town residents. And so that's what we're here to provide information on today. So next slide, please, Terry. And some of this information was in your package, and we continue to gather information following the release of the package. So the averages might be a little bit different than what's in your package, but as with all pools and aquatics facilities, there's a deficit. They typically are they typically are funded externally, not just through rates for patrons. So our deficit annually over the last couple of years, 2-3 years, has been approximately $110,000, and that's down from the deficit that we would have seen in years prior to that. So it has improved. The Baylor load and registration data for 2023, which you all would have seen, that was gathered to look at the percentage of use from town residents versus non-town residents. We use that information to determine the approximate amount of revenue that's earned from individuals and patrons outside of Port Hawkesbury, and approximately $105,000 of revenue is earned through sales to non-residents, about 75%. So just, I think in your package you had our current rates, or what our rates are going to be in April, which is, we are increasing some of our rates in April based on a market review that Corinne had done of rates of other pools to make them more reflective of market. But yeah, what we wanted to do, so there's a number of different rates, raising it 50% to 100% to 150, I think is in your package. But what I felt might be okay to do was to look at what percentage the rates would have to increase to non-residents to make up the percentage of the deficit that relates to the non-resident use. So in order to cover 75% of the deficit, we would have to raise non-resident rates by 80%, and that would be across all offerings at the pool. So that would be drop-ins as well as registrations, as well as memberships. Everything that we do there would have to be increased by 80%. This is based on estimates. To recover the percentage of the deficit related to non-resident use, excluding drop-ins, so that, there's sometimes a lot of people coming through. I know Corinne just had a very, very busy week at the pool with March break, and, hundreds of children and adults coming through. It may not be easy to determine and understand where people are from and get proof of residency and that sort of thing. So if we wanted to exclude the drop-in piece and just have registration type offerings, the rates of those would have to increase by 110%. So in the table below, you'll see the rate that we're setting as of April for the various lessons. Do you have any questions did you have a question?
Oh, I'm just trying to find this, I guess we don't have it, do we?
So this is a little bit different, yeah. It's similar though to the numbers you would have seen in your report. So the current rates are in the first column. In yellow are the numbers that are recorded above. So if we wanted to increase the rates to cover the deficit from non-resident use, and we're applying that across all offerings at the pool, would have to increase our rate by 80%, which means our parent and tot would go from $70 to $126. If we weren't applying that to all of our offerings and excluding drop-ins, would have to increase our rate by 110%, which means our parent and tot rate would go to $147. And you'll see the various numbers there. So preschool age would go from 85 to 153 or 178. You know, rookie Ranger Star would go from 105 to 189 or 220. I'm showing the averages, which are updated a little bit from what you have in your report because we gathered some more information. You see that the averages are between $80 and $90. So the 80% or even 110% are a bit out of line with what the averages we've seen from the pools we looked at. Next slide, please, unless somebody has any particular questions on these rates before we move forward. Okay, next slide, thank you. So just looking at this again, same idea. Current rates are under the rate right now. If we increase our public swims by 80% or 110%, we're going between $10 and $36 between a student or senior and a family. If we increase by 80%, if we increase to 110, it's $12 to $42 on average. Single drop-in pools that we've looked at is around $6, which is around what we're charging now, and around $21 for a family. Pool rentals right now, current rates are $150 if you have 20 or less people. More than 20 is $175. If we increase by 80 or 110%, we're between $270 and $367. On average, we're seeing rates around $178 and $210. I can send these updated tables out to council. Same thing on the punch passes. Current rates for senior and adult are in the first two columns, and I just showed the 80 and 110 on those, where it was a wider column. Again, average is around, that average is not necessarily reflective of average. That's only one other pool that we found a punch pass for. So yeah, so that's just one other pool, but that's what we've seen for the punch pass at another facility. Next slide. And just so you have an idea of where we've looked at some rates, this is some of the sample of other rates that we've looked at. And you can see, just so you know, my averages aren't just being pulled out of thin air. It was based on information provided or gathered from other pools like East Hants, Waterville, Pictou, West Hants, Centennial, Truro, and Canada Game Center. So various rates, but all, you know, somewhat consistent with our current rates. Yeah, so I'll pass things over to Green. She can talk about this a little bit further.
Yeah, so just in addition to the change of rates and things like that, there's just a few other considerations that we kind of want to look at. We've moved within the last year and a half to an online registration system for all of our recreation programs. So this could be a bit of a challenge because you create your own account online and you enter your own address in. So entering your address, you could enter in kind of whatever address you want. And that being said, if you do enter an incorrect address in order to get the cheaper rate, that's going to skew our stats for some other recreation, basically any other programming stats that we gather, you know, where people are from for swimming or any other programs. We're also running the risk of making making healthy and life-saving programs unaffordable. We could be putting up some barriers for some individuals. Also, membership and registration could drop for some of the programs if people find it too unaffordable, and that would cause us to likely have to cancel some programs. So canceling some of our swimming lessons, also canceling our water exercise or water fitness type programs. Also, it could be a challenge, as Erin kind of mentioned, at our public swims if we kind of go that way. having to either ask somebody for an ID, which a lot of people don't carry an ID on them anymore, or if they do, like teenagers or a group, a parent is landing with their kids and a bunch of friends, an ID. Also asking for an ID or finding out where people are from when there are long lineups, like especially during March break when it was just, it's full, it's chaotic. Even our weekend public swims were really busy, so kind of figuring out how we would find out where everybody's from there could be definitely a challenge. And there could be some potential conflicts with staff and customers because when customers come in, if they don't want to pay that fee, they didn't used to have to pay it, or those types of things, there's definitely some conflicts going on there. Also, our staffing levels would possibly have to change when there's larger numbers. Definitely March break, we definitely would have had to. Weekends, even when we have rentals, buses land sometimes with people from all over the place. The level of voluntary funding support does vary by municipality, but current applied rates for non-residents currently does not vary. Also, we don't have resident or non-resident fees for any of our other recreation programs or recreation facilities or any of our other rentals or those types of things. Anybody have any questions on that?
Councilor Flynn?
No.
Question? Councilor Dugan?
No question, thank you.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes, I do, through you. When we were looking at the slides, and Aaron went through them with the rates, I noticed almost every one of our rates are under the average. Or sorry, above the average. And we're still not able to, like if we look at the $7 fees and the $6.17, and I guess I asked the question, is these other pools that we looked at, is there any, who funds those pools? Is there provincial funding involved in it? Is it the municipality? Who funds those pools?
We'd have to look at that. We haven't gone that far. I think some are municipally run. So like East Hants, for instance, I think they run 100% their facility. Some of them are YMCA, they would probably partially be government funded. But we'd have to look at who funds. But I'm not aware of any facility in the province that is able to balance without external funding. So I think they're all, the deficit is something that kind of goes hand in hand with running a facility. And with a lot of recreation facilities, right? It's providing active, healthy opportunities for your communities. But we could find out a little bit more on those pools and how they're funded.
So
Yep.
just a little bit of background information. I just did an interview a week and a half ago with the ORN, and the lady who did the interview was fantastic. And she showed me some examples and she posted them of pools in other places where they have exactly what we're talking about, where there's a non-resident rate and why it is. And yeah, they took a lot of heat on it when it first came in place. They were very easily able to explain why. We talk about, you talk about your online registration. Well, an easy solution to that is have them send a utility bill with the registration. Attach a utility bill for proof of registration. Then they can't lie about where they're living.
So it would have to be an in-person registration as opposed to.
Well, you can do it online and have a spot where you add your utility bill in there, an attachment. Like a lot of these concerns I'm seeing are very easy fixes in my mind.
But the registration, we registered through a program that we have, and so it's not something that's easily added to or subtracted. So taking a picture of your utility bill or someone else's utility bill and putting it on there could be, it may be, it's not, these CAN programs that we use are not easily adaptable. That's what I'm trying to say. There's certainly ways around it, but those ways are going to cause more work, cause more issues, I would say. So one of the other issues raised was just the amount of staffing. we're very fortunate with our pool, because it sits in a high school. We don't have to absorb many of the costs that other pools do as a result of that. The majority of our costs are around staffing. And so the more complex we make things, the more staffing that could be required. The other issue, big issue here is just affordability. Does someone actually go to swimming lessons when the fees are 110% more than the average fee that you would see anywhere else in the province? So it's probably unlikely. The other question is that we have here, it is indicated that the voluntary funding from two of our neighbors is just that, it's voluntary. That can change, it could go up, but it could also go down. So that 110% to make this, the share of that cost could be even more as well.
So the problem I have,
Could be much, much less as well.
problem I have here is that we've never discussed as a council how much of this deficit we even want to cover. Staff is assuming we want to cover the 75%, which is the other user rates. Maybe we don't even want to cover, maybe we want to cover 50%, and then those rates change dramatically.
And so I think you have a smorgasbord of rate changes, right? Like at 50, 100 and whatever in your package. That's all that's information you have. I thought it would, to reflect some sort of math of percentage of use, may be beneficial, but you can take it or leave it. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, through you, Your Worship, to Aaron. I'd be interested in finding out from the pools that you looked at outside the municipality, what their deficit is.
Mm-hmm.
And if that municipality is absorbing it.
We can ask
And
them.
what user rate?
No, well, they may be getting outside funding too, but if some of them may be absorbing the whole thing,
We can try to get that information.
please.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely do more research on that. I did try to find out from one of the contacts that we had at one of the pools, and we were working closely with her, and she actually took another job. So I can try to find some more contacts. We did speak with people that are outside of Nova Scotia. I spoke with some people that we work with outside of Nova Scotia, and one individual who's worked in pools pretty much her whole career, and she said all the pools she's worked at have always run out of deficit. That's how it is. She's out west. But we can definitely look into the Nova Scotia ones and.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where we are on that sliding scale.
Mhm.
And, and I do appreciate what you say, Aaron, and I'm sure the same applies to a lot of recreation facilities, not only pools, rinks, for example. How many recreational facilities are self-sustaining? I don't know how many would actually be able to make that list, but it certainly seems like we do need some more information. But I'm going to circle back to Councillor McDougall.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you through you. There is the whole litany or smorgasbord of variables here for sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to use, but just in terms of registration. Now, I don't envision, and I wouldn't envision it whether it be online or in person, of somebody coming with an ID. If I ask somebody where they live and they tell me Mozambique, well, they live in Mozambique. I don't want an ID from them. So if I ask somebody where they live and they want to say, well, I live in Hawkesbury. They don't live in Hawkesbury, but I don't think they're going to come in and start lying about that. They got to live with that. I think that's a very, like councillors say, that's a very easy fix. Who would start wanting to lie where they live? You know what I mean? And to have an ID, do you think that's a realistic concern?
If we're trying to find out where people are from, that's.
Well, you just ask them. You
I
don't.
guess that's the choice, yeah, if we.
You just ask them and they say, I live in Lewiston, I live in Pettigrew. They're not going to say
show me an ID, that's good enough. That's good. I think it's just,
If it's about collecting stats, but if it's about saving money.
Well, like I say, again, they'll have to live with
If
it.
it's
Whoever,
statistic.
whoever they say they live with, or whatever answer they give, they have to live with. Me being the great Christian that I am, I wouldn't want that halo above my head, I wouldn't want to get my part here.
That would be for our drop-ins. I mean, as far as in front of us, the drop-ins also are our punch cards and our memberships. That's what we sell as far as people in front of us. And we do collect the address and everything for stats, but it also, that way we can, it's easier for us to sell. That way, if you come in and you buy one, then the next time you just look your name up and it's just, that's just kind of how it rolls. As far as online, that's, all of our other recreation programs, including swimming lessons. So that's where you have to fill in an address and a phone, but you have to fill that in for it to let you go, so.
Thank
Yeah, we're not asking them for an ID online, but they have to punch
Yeah.
something in, whether it's right or not, we have
Yeah,
no
that's
idea.
just, thank you.
So I guess perhaps if I know council have asked for a little bit more information and digging, and certainly appreciate all the information that you've been able to present thus far. But between now and maybe the next committee of the whole, if council does have any other kind of questions around this topic, and we can certainly maybe forward them to Aaron and Corinne so that any updates or any other kind of research and we could do at our next committee of the whole is to continue to percolate, I guess, the idea around fees and how to make up the deficit, and what does our deficit look like in comparison to other pools? You know, maybe we've got the lowest deficit of the province. I don't know. Like, until we know what that information is, we're going to make better decisions with more and better information. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Terry, did you want to add anything?
No.
Thank you.
Your worship, just one to Aaron, which I think Aaron already said, you'll forward the slides that we don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with the additional.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thank you.
We don't have any approved additions this evening. Future meetings. The deputy mayor, can you make a motion to start a recess early? I mean, we're 2 days away from spring, is the rumor.
oh, spring break.
Spring break.
Spring break starts tomorrow.
Okay, so our next public meeting is April 2nd, followed by committee of the whole, April 16th. But ask for a motion of adjournment.
Moved.
Moved by deputy mayor, seconder.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Moved by Councillor Coyle, seconded by Deputy Mayor McIver. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry for reminding. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.